The following is a presentation of ABC Sports. This year, from Sarajevo, Yugoslavia to Los Angeles, California, the ABC Olympic tradition continues.
ABC Sports presents the season premiere of Monday Night Baseball. From Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California, the Cincinnati Reds take on the Los Angeles Dodgers. This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil, now in easy pour and easy to reseal plastic bottles, and by TR3 Auto Polish. You want tough? TR3 is tough. And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Dodger Stadium. I'm Don Drysdale, and happy that you've joined us tonight, our premiere night here on ABC. We will be bringing you 6 Monday night games, 2 Friday night specials, the Midsummer Classic from San Francisco, the All-Star Game. And then we'll be back the final 3 Sundays of the 1984 season to bring you the pennant races right down the stretch drive. And, of course, the 2 League Championship Series after the entire thing is over. And working with us this year, and very happy to have him on the ABC crew, a man who has won so many ball games in the uniform of the Baltimore Orioles, needing no introduction. He has been here with ABC many times before, Jim Palmer. And Jim, I know it's got to be a little different for you right now, knowing that the season is still going on and you're not in uniform.
Well, that's true, Don, and I had mixed emotions when I was released by the Orioles. I had some opportunities to play in the National League, and I felt a little bit uncomfortable about going over there. I think after you played 19 years in one league, you kind of want to stay where you feel at home. And, of course, it's very difficult also to take off the uniform when you still think you can pitch. But things didn't work out. I really had a very optimistic outlook in going into this season. But, as I said, things didn't work out. And I'm just happy to be here with ABC and still have something to do with baseball.
Jim, you know, a lot of times we've talked in the past, there's 2 ways to look at it very quickly. You can be hurt, you can be forced into retirement, and sometimes Father Time can take its toll, too. I think the previous, being hurt, is the best, and speaking as a former athlete.
Well, I always thought when I finished pitching that I would be in a position where my arm hurt and I just couldn't throw anymore, but I felt the best I have in 3 or 4 years, and the Orioles got off to a poor start. The Tigers got off to a great start along with Toronto, and as I said, things didn't work out. I didn't pitch as well as I'd like to. They went with some younger pitchers, and it's worked out because they're back in the pennant race.
Jim, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Don.
And we'll be right back and look at the hottest team in baseball, the Detroit Tigers, after this. When you looked at the Detroit Tigers this spring, you saw that Sparky Anderson had put something together, maybe something special. Well, indeed they are special. As of right now, they have the best record in Major League Baseball. Howard Cosell looks at the Detroit Tigers and the happiness in Motown, and let's listen.
The crowds have grown in size and enthusiasm, and the wave has become a Tigers trademark in a city that has come to life. Who can blame them with performances like this?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the best things that's happened in this town since '68.
I think it gives the people something to feel good about to Detroit.
It means a hell of a lot.
To have a great season, you've got to make the tough plays, and a once great city requires hard work to rebuild. The Detroit skyline features the Renaissance Center, aptly named for the Detroit of today, plagued in the mid-'60s by racial unrest, on into the '70s by terrible unemployment, a result of a failing American automobile industry. The Tigers' current success follows on the coattails of a city on the road back. Mayor Young explains.
If you remember, whole city was kind of down in '60. It was right after '67 with the disturbances, half the damn city burned down, etc. And we needed something to bring us together, something to cheer about. And the championship Tigers of 1960 provided that. And this team gives every promise of being a greater team, and it providing even more of that positive, unifying adrenaline that we need.
The Tigers' 30,000 fans per game include its captains of industry, a notable example, Chrysler's Lee Iacocca.
No question, you've been a principal leader in the renaissance of this great city, but is it far-fetched to ask if indeed This current Tiger team has played a part in uplifting the psyche of the city.
Well, it sure has, Howard, in the last couple of months. It's been fantastic. I've been a fan for 35 years here, and I've never seen anything like it. Even the great year '68, our last shot at the World Series, which we won. When we had to take on Gibson, it was a tough series, but we won it. Well, I'll tell you how excited I am about this ball club. I said, this is the first time this has happened in 16 years. But in my breast pocket, I carry my schedule, and I carry our sales and profit figures. But right on the top now, everybody says, what are you doing with that? I said, it's a Detroit Tigers schedule, and I got to make sure I'm in town. It seems to me this old ballpark has had Ty Cobb and Hank Greenberg and superstars, you know, Al Kaline, but this is an unusual club. I have to follow to see who's playing. I don't know some of the names, but they seem to come through, and they're closely knit little outfit that does their job every day. They're determined, and they keep winning, and it's just amazing. They got the town turned on with me.
New club owner Tom Monahan bought the team last year as a substitute for a boyhood dream to play shortstop for the Tigers. A helicopter arrival at the stadium may seem pretentious, but this soft-spoken owner is simply a fan whose excitement is a reflection of the attitude of the people of Detroit.
What about the electricity of this city and what the Tigers have brought to it? I wonder if you'd describe that.
Well, it's all over the state. Everybody's excited about the Tigers. People are taking their radios to work and listening to the ball game at work, and when there's day games, and everybody's talking about the Tigers. And I'm amazed how many old women approach me. They're some of the most avid fans. I never would have guessed that.
You find yourself now banking on pennant, eating and sleeping pennant in World Series for the Detroit Tigers?
Yeah, it seems everybody expects a pennant now. You know, the biggest single surprise that I've had for me since I bought the Tigers, I thought that it'd be tough on my family coming to ball games instead of being at home. I have 4 daughters, and only one of them is a Tiger fan, and she's a fanatic. And my wife could care less about baseball. But the strange things happen. They all want to go to every ball game. And so we're sitting over here in that box, and even though I have 2 daughters that are in college and more or less left home, our family is together more now than it's been in years. And that's, to me, that's the most exciting thing of all since I bought these Tigers.
This season, the Tigers won their first 17 road games to tie the Major League record. They have recorded the best season start since the '46 Red Sox. It seems so long ago in April that Jack Morris pitched the first Tiger no-hitter since Bunning in '58. No wonder the Tigers have become the toughest ticket in this rebounding city.
One mistake when we had to get rid of a couple $1 billion of costs out of Chrysler. The only mistake I really feel I made, a dastardly one, is that I had to give up the box here. What rotten timing, huh? I had to give up my airplanes and a lot of other stuff to cut expenses, but I had to lose my box at Tiger Stadium.
King World Series, of course, already at Tiger Stadium. Could be a little premature, but I know when you talk about World Series and Dodger Stadium, where we are right now, has to be a special meaning to you.
Well, it certainly does, Don. Almost 20 years ago, I pitched here in 1966 against Sandy Koufax. Ended up pitching a shutout. One of the most exciting times in my life. And I think we go back 16 years ago. This was a rather exciting point in your career. 6 consecutive shutout, breaking the all-time Major League record.
Well, that's true. That did happen right here, and thank goodness it happened at Dodger Stadium. I also remember, as you mentioned, 20 years or so with Baltimore. We beat the Yankees 4 straight in 1963. We found out what it was like to be beat 4 straight in 1966 by Baltimore.
Well, we certainly didn't expect to do it, but we were very happy to come out of here with a couple of wins, go back to Baltimore, win 2 1-0 games, one of which you pitched, and very exciting to win your first World Series.
No question about that, and we'll be right back tonight. It's the Reds and the Dodgers, and we'll be back right after this ABC News Brief and a word from your local stations. Since Monday Night Baseball. Tonight, we're at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California, where the Los Angeles Dodgers are hosting the Cincinnati Reds. This ABC Sports exclusive is sponsored by Stroh's and Stroh's Light, fire brewed for smooth taste. By Chevrolet, with the performance, the style, the innovation, the quality, and the value that make up today's Chevrolet. By Wang, when it comes to automating your entire office, nobody puts it together quite like Wang, the office automation people. And by Olympic gold and silver coins from the U.S. Treasury. Support the home team. Now tonight from Dodger Stadium, it'll be the Cincinnati Reds, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the first game of the three-game series. And here is the National League West in the Wild West, and what a difference a week can make. Atlanta now on top. They are 1/2 over San Diego, 1.5 over the Dodgers. They are 4 over Cincinnati, 7 over Houston, and 11 over the San Francisco Giants. And good evening once again, everyone, and welcome to Dodger Stadium. I'm Don Drysdale along with Jim Palmer, and happy you've joined us tonight. Premiere night here on ABC Monday Night Baseball. Jim, indeed, what a difference a week to 10 days can make as far as this National League West is concerned. It looked like a cavalry charge once again.
Well, it certainly was, and the Dodgers, of course, every victory they've had all year has been a tough one. They haven't been playing very well and out in the field, and they've had 4 1-0 games that they've been able to win. So they're struggling, and not only at the plate but also in the field. Then we have Cincinnati. They just played Atlanta, and as you said, Atlanta has taken over first place. They had a 5-game series, 4-game series with a rainout, which made it 5 games. Atlanta was playing great. Cincinnati struggling with some runs, but they do have Dave Parker. They do have Tony Perez. They have a little bit more maturity, and it's going to be an interesting race, because if they can get their pitching together, which has not been very good, they're going to get right back in the race.
I think if you talk to both managers, and especially Tommy Lasorda, he has had a hospital list all year long. We'll get into that in the course of the ball game, but injuries and also mistakes and errors. 53 errors on both sides.
Well, that's true, and of course Bill Russell's just come off the disabled list. He's kind of the leader as far as seniority on the ball club. He's going to be back at shortstop tonight. I think he'll settle down the entire ball club. So it should be an interesting ball game. We have Fernando Valenzuela pitching for the Dodgers, 5-on-5 the year, but doing an excellent job.
Jim, I think when you talk about that 5-5 record, 2.24 ERA, so that record is not indicative to what he has been doing. And of course, we'll talk about that as we go along. And he's being opposed by a young right-hander. His name is Frank Pastore. He has a 2-4 mark, so it'll be Pastore and Fernando Valenzuela tonight from Dodger Stadium. We'll be right back with our opening night game in just a moment. Now there you see the Los Angeles freeway system, and indeed this summer it will be jam-packed, as the 1984 Olympics will be right here in Southern California. But tonight here at Dodger Stadium, it's the Reds and the Los Angeles Dodgers as we check the lineups. First of all, for the Cincinnati Reds. Leading off, and at second base will be Tom Lawless. Batting second, and in center field, Eddie Milner. Hitting third, and in left field, Gary Reedus, with Dave Parker batting fourth. Dave will be in right field. Batting fifth, and at third base will be Davey Concepcion. Hitting sixth, and at first base, the veteran Dan Dreesen. Doing the catching and hitting seventh will be Dan Billardello. And hitting eighth, and at shortstop will be Tom Foley. And the starting pitcher tonight will be right-hander Frank Pastore, a record of 2-4. Here's your men in blue tonight. Behind home plate will be Dave Falone. Paul Runge will be at first, with Randy Marsh at second base, and Bob Engel will be over at third. As you see the back of the Cincinnati manager, Vern Rapp, he will be exchanging lineup cards with what you would call the captain of the Dodgers, the veteran Billy Russell, who Jim alluded to in our top of the show as just getting back off the disabled list and back in the lineup here this afternoon. And you know, Jim, as you look at this time of night at Dodger Stadium, daylight savings time #1, as you look at Fernando Valenzuela, this right now is a fairly good time to hit, but in another hour or so, watch out.
Well, it's a pitcher's kind of game where I've always felt when you pitch in the twilight, you have a big advantage. They can't pick up the spin on the ball as well. And if you make good pitches and you hit your breaking ball over, you usually have a good chance of being successful.
And, of course, one of the things here at Dodger Stadium, when it gets warm, the ball will carry very well. And prior to the game, I had a chance to talk to the Dodger skipper, Tommy Lasorda, about exactly the thoughts and what was going on with Los Angeles here in 1984. And this is what he had to say. Tom, you've been around a long time, and it appears that today, as compared to yesteryear, that there's more and more injuries every year. Why?
That's something I can't understand. I can remember when I managed in the rookie league, and I didn't even have a trainer. I didn't even want to bring a trainer with me, and In fact, we're out there working out one day. It's about 105 degrees, and this young man come up to me and he said, "Hey, Skip, my knee hurts." I said, "Go into the clubhouse and put it in the whirlpool." He said, "What whirlpool? We don't have a whirlpool." I said, "Put it in the toilet and flush it. That's our whirlpool." You walk into our training room and you think you're in Mayo Clinic. And when I played, we had one trainer. He carried a bottle of rubbing alcohol, and by the 5th inning, he drank half of it.
Well, those are the words of the Dodgers skipper, Tommy Lasorda. Boy, he is a dandy. So the Dodgers are on the field. Fernando Valenzuela getting his warm-up tosses, and here's the Dodger defense. Franklin Stubbs will be at first base, youngster, and there is Steve Sachs over at second base. Moving on around, the shortstop, the veteran Billy Russell, back in the lineup tonight. The Dodgers are happy to have him there. And over at third base will be Pedro Guerrero. Guerrero at third. Moving on to the outfield, Mike Marshall will be in left. He's back off the DL. In center field, Kenny Landreau. He's been hurt a time or two this year. And over in right field will be another youngster, R.J. Reynolds. Behind the plate and doing the cashing will be Mike Scioscia. And on the mound, the left-hander from Mexico, making his 12th start of the year, Fernando Valenzuela. You see that mark of 5-5 and a 2.24 earned run average. And, Jim, that's what I was talking about prior to the game here tonight. You look at some of the stats on Valenzuela. 2.24 and 5-5 don't jive.
No, they don't. And you're looking at a guy that's got not an overpowering fastball, but a good fastball. You can spot inside and out. But the one pitch that really makes him effective is that screwball. And there's one thing, though, you do notice if you look at the statistics that he does have a tendency to get that ball down, and he's got, I think, 6 wild pitches already this season. But when he's in command of that screwball, it makes it very tough to hit.
All right, it'll be Tommy Lawless to lead it off. Lawless hitting .217 with a home run and a couple of RBIs. It'll be Lawless, Milner, and Reedus to face the left-hander Fernando Valenzuela. So we're about ready to go in our kickoff night here on ABC. And it ought to be a great year. And that first pitch in and over, and we're underway. Fernando Valenzuela, a slimmed-down Fernando Valenzuela. That is outside the count 1-0. It's amazing what his weight is right now.
Well, I went over to Jose Morales, who speaks Spanish, and told him to tell Fernando that he looks emaciated in Spanish.
There's a good curveball by Valenzuela. When Valenzuela's right, as you mentioned before, Jim, he's got the good Scroogey, but a pitch that will really help him out quite a bit is that curveball right there down and into the right-hander.
Well, exactly, and you have the screwball going away from the right-handers, and you have the curveball coming into them, and it's, especially even in twilight, it's very difficult to pick up the spin.
Infield, outfield about straight away. A little bit low, and the count goes even at 2-2. Lawless, as you look at the defense, he's a 5'11", 170-pounder out of Erie, Pennsylvania. Last year, spent the entire year at Indianapolis, where he hit .279. There's a Scroogey base hit center field.
And he just...
Batting second, number 20.
And here you see the screwball. It's just a little bit up, and Lawless goes right with it. And when Fernando gets in trouble, when he's had his bad spells through the last 3 or 4 seasons, it's been when he's getting his screwball up and not getting the ball to work down and away to the right-handers.
So the leadoff single by Lawless, and here is Eddie Milner. And this young man having a fine year at .284, 3 home runs, 17 RBIs, and they will keep an eye on Lawless. The Cincinnati Reds, you give them an inch and they will take a mile. They have 77 stolen bases on the year. Just outside. Eddie Milner, you talk about how things can turn around. He was the Reds' #1 draft choice in the 1976 draft, number 21. Again, they will keep Lawless close.
I think the one thing to point out is that Mike Scioscia, who's catching for the Dodgers, has thrown 10 out of 19 runners out. And you can kind of see as he comes up, he's ready to throw.
Valenzuela, again, looking at Lawless. Well, you know, that's one of the things, Jim, as you well know, when you come into a series, this is the first time that these two clubs have met. And the Dodgers know that they've stolen 77 bases, and they've got to be alive. bunt. Valenzuela has the play to second, and they don't get him. I believe he hesitated.
Well, again, early in the ball game, I've always felt that to try to get the sure out, he took a chance, and it just didn't work out. He hesitated a little bit. I've always felt you want to, especially when you don't have command of your pitches, you don't know what you have, you want to get the sure out at first base.
As a rule, Valenzuela is an excellent fielding pitcher. He didn't get off the mound as well as he had in the past, and then there was that slight hesitation. And I think coming off the mound, Jim, you've got to have in the back of your mind, you know the speed of the runner at first, you know how quick you get to the ball, and you start moving into position before the ball ever reaches you.
Well, that's exactly right. But also the catcher in that situation really should help you out. He should give you a pretty good indication before you even get to the ball what base you're going to.
Here's Gary Reedus, and they're going to try and sacrifice again as that curveball is outside. That's Lawless at second. He showed good speed going to second base. And you've got good speed at first in Eddie Milner and good speed at the plate in Gary Reedus, who's hitting .314, 3 home runs and 8 RBI. Reedus, you talk about his speed, 26 stolen bases on the year. A ball and a strike. Cincinnati, throughout the course of the year, has sacrificed 25 times. So that is Lawless at second. And over at first is Eddie Milner. And times like that, it'll give you a little indication of how a manager thinks. And you can see right here that Reedus wants to have a little chat with Joe Sparks, his third base coach. Vern Rapp down in the dugout. George Sugar at the top of your screen, chewing on that gum. He's been around for many, many years.
I think also, Don, this kind of puts Valenzuela in a position where he really doesn't know what Reedus is going to do. You look at a guy's batting average, you know he's hitting well. He might be sacrificing, he may be hitting.
And he comes back with a Scroogey. When in doubt, go to your A pitch, huh?
Not a bad idea.
A ball and 2 strikes. The infield and double play depth. The outfield more or less bunched a little bit. Marshall maybe just a shade to his left, but the right fielder Reynolds off the line towards the alley. This is with a Scroogey outside.
Well, this was always a great park to pitch in, but didn't they move the fences in back around 1972?
What they did, Jim, they moved home plate out 10 feet. That saved them a lot of construction costs. Check swing as they got a pair. Chance for 2. Sacks for 1, but not in time. Reedus can go down the line. We said that before.
Here you're going to see a good screwball away. Just checks his swing. Here you see the real Fernando Valenzuela. Goes to second for 1. And here's where team speed really can help you. Stays out of that double play.
Now, indeed, the Reds with runners at first and third. There's 1 out, and that'll bring on Dave Parker, hitting .296. Not a lot in that home run department, but you can see the 27 RBI.
Well, Dave Parker, it's interesting. I talked to Charlie Medro, one of the Dodger scouts, and he said he's hitting a soft .296. But I think the one thing that Parker has done, of course, he's come down from about hitting .330 for most of the season, is give them a veteran player that can drive in some runs. He has 27 RBIs on the season. May not be hitting with as much power, but I felt after pitching him in '79, he had a big hole up and in, and they're still taking advantage of that.
There goes the runner, and the throw through, they won't get anybody. So Reedus has stolen it, his 27th stolen base of the year. By the time Socia looked the runner back, you knew he had no chance.
Actually, it's a pretty good pitch to try to throw somebody out. Again, this shows why Reedus just stole his 27th base. He's got excellent speed. Not a bad throw. Of course, Steve Sachs is worried about the runner on third.
As the strike to Parker, the Reds lead the National League in stolen bases. Of course, that is by a wide margin. 77. Make that 78 right now in 102 attempts. Said before, give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Foul left side, out of play. A ball and 2 strikes to Parker with Davy Concepcion on deck.
Don, I always felt the one denominator that's probably the most thing that's difficult to deal with is speed. It changes the whole complexion of the ball game.
Boy, it really does, and it's amazing at times how that can upset a pitcher. Especially if the pitcher, Jim, as you well know, in watching pitchers throughout your career that are very slow and deliberate and cannot alternate their moves to the plate or even to first base for that matter. 2-2 the count.
And that's the book on Dave Parker. Try to get him out with a fastball up and in. And if you're left-handed, come away with a breaking ball. So it'll be interesting to see with a 2-2 count if he comes back with maybe a curveball or a slider low and away.
Hard to Sachs. That will score the run. Parker's thrown out at first base, but Lawless scores, and Cincinnati jumps out on top 1-0. Moving to third is Gary Reedus. So Parker with his 28th RBI of the year, and that will bring on Davy Concepcion. So indeed, as you mentioned before, the misplay at second base on the bunt attempt, who knows, that could have cost Valenzuela right here.
Well, I think the one thing as a pitcher over many years, I felt that the biggest thing that I didn't want to happen was have a big inning in the first inning. It not only psychologically but physically takes your team out of the game sometimes.
As the breaking pitch catches that outside corner, boy, I can speak from experience too. There's nothing like watching a game for 8 innings in the clubhouse. When you started the first one on the mound. There's a pitch that's becoming more and more prominent, I think, watching pitchers today in the major leagues, Jim, and that's the backdoor breaking pitch.
Well, maybe that's why I'm not playing anymore, but I never could master that. I think if you throw a good curveball like Valenzuela just threw and get on top of it, it's going to break and break well, whether it's in or away.
A ball and 2 strikes the count. And you have Concepcion at the 257 mark, 3 home runs, 23 RBIs. So you have those 2 right there, Parker and Concepcion. And he goes down swinging. They have the big RBI production. So a run on a hit, no errors. They leave a man aboard. And after the first half inning of play, it's Cincinnati 1 and the Los Angeles Dodgers coming up. We'll lead it off and play second base with R.J. Reynolds hitting second and in right field. Hitting third and at third base will be Pedro Guerrero, with Franklin Stubbs hitting fourth and at first base. Hitting fifth, back in the lineup in left field, Mike Marshall. Kenny Landreau will hit sixth. He will be in center field. Mike Socia will bat seventh, and he will do the catching with Bill Russell hitting eighth and at shortstop. And batting ninth, we've seen the starting pitcher, left-hander Fernando Valenzuela. Checking the Cincinnati defense, at first base you have Dan Dreesen, and at second base there's Tommy Lawless. And over at shortstop, Tom Foley. And at third base, Dave Concepcion. In left field, you'll have Gary Reedus. In center field, you'll have Eddie Milner. And over in right field, Big Dave Parker. And behind the plate and doing the catching, you'll have, right there is Dan Billardello. And on the mound will be right-hander Frank Pastore, a record of 2-4. And a 4.68 earned run average. About Pastore, Jim?
Well, he's a power pitcher. I was talking to Stan Williams, the pitching coach, and I saw a game that he pitched last Thursday night against Atlanta, and we talked about how well Atlanta played, but he held him to 2 hits for 8 innings. So he's got his control. He throws basically a fastball, a curveball, slider, and changeup. But there are games when he'll just go out there and throw the ball right by you. But he's a little bit tentative. Stan said his biggest problem is that he just doesn't really know how well he throws. If he can get him to challenge the hitters a little bit more, he might be pitching a lot better than he really has.
Here's Steve Sachs hitting .283 with a home run and 15 RBIs. Now Sachs, Reynolds, and Guerrero, the top 3 to face the right-hander Frank Pastore. He's a 6'3", 205-pounder, born in nearby Alhambra, California. Now makes his home in Upland. Check swing, looper right, coming on Parker. He is there, out number 1.
They've often compared Pastore to Tom Seaver when he came up with Cincinnati. First time went over there in a trade to Cincinnati, and they both are very mechanically sound pitchers. But I think sometimes what bothers Frank is that he gets too much into mechanics. Just doesn't realize, like I said before, that he has excellent stuff. And just like he did there with Steve Sachs, who's an excellent fastball hitter, he's got to go after the hitter. And let's see what he does.
Here's R.J. Reynolds hitting .299 without a home run, 3 RBIs.
There you saw that good high fastball.
Reynolds, one of the youngsters in the Dodger organization, last year at San Antonio hit .337. 18 home runs, 89 RBIs, had some time in 24 ball games with Los Angeles where he hit .236. A ball and a strike. And he's got good speed.
Well, he can run. Hasn't hit any home runs, as you said, but he's got good power, and as a switch hitter, those are the type of players you like to have on your ball club.
One of the things about Reynolds tonight in right field, Tommy Lasorda has been trying to find the proper piece to the puzzle out there in right field throughout the course of the year.
Well, Terry Whitfield, of course, who they acquired from, I guess, really as a free agent from coming over from Japanese baseball, really hasn't had a chance to play that much, and he had some personal problems. The grandmother died. And
there's a shot down the line, and we'll get a chance to watch Reynolds run right here. Parker, a ways to go. He's got a gun, but he will not have a chance at Reynolds at second base. He is there with a stand-up double.
Third baseman, Pedro Guerrero.
That ball just hooked down the line.
Well, it was a low inside breaking ball. Pretty good pitch as far as being down in the strike zone, but it was kind of in the inner half of the plate, and Reynolds just turned on it, and there's nobody playing over the first base bag.
No, that's a tough position, and the umpire can't catch it. There's Pedro Guerrero. You see Pete at .243. He has 3 home runs, 19 RBI. Takes the breaking pitch for the strike, 0-1.
And there you saw the big curveball. The problem with a big curveball, especially in the National League, with maybe a slightly lower strike zone than the American League, it's hard to throw for a strike. Of course, Guerrero's an excellent fastball hitter. Likes the ball out over the plate. Likes to get those arms extended.
And you could see the lifetime mark against Pastore. There is Concepcion still showing the range to throw him out. Davy Concepcion, for so many years, made his home at that shortstop's position.
Nice play going to his left. Probably wouldn't have scored a run, but if the ball gets through, of course, it's a first and third situation. Talking to Davey, and he said he just feels a little bit out of position over there. But when you have good hands and good reflexes, and you've been a Golden Glove shortstop for 9 years, you can almost go anywhere and play.
Boy, that is so true. Here's the young man, Franklin Stubbs. You see the 205 mark, but he has gone long ball a little bit. 4 home runs, 8 RBIs when he's had a chance to play. He was the Dodgers' #1 selection in the June '82 draft. This year at Albuquerque, prior to being called up, he was hitting .338. And very quickly the count 1-1. He had 5 home runs and 20 RBI. Off attempt and not in time. Stubbs is good size, 6'2", 205 pounds, from Laurinburg, North Carolina.
He's a pretty good low ball hitter, but they're really high on him here, Don. I mean, they just think that at his age he's shown a lot of power. Will obviously become a better hitter as he gets more experience.
Try it one more time. Of course, you've got a young man that has been over there in Greg Brock.
And here you see the pickoff play. Really what this is trying to do is just to keep that runner a little bit closer. If you can't pick him off, at least you can maybe shorten his lead a step or two and maybe save a run every once in a while.
2 balls and a strike. Brock has missed 25 ball games this year from that first base position. He's out. Well, the Dodgers have been riddled by injuries. We'll tell you about that as we move along. Brock, the first one, just put a 25 next to him. It's missing low. 3-1 the count. It's going to be interesting. You bring up a man like a Stubbs when you've got a young man over there in Brock. And you say, well, now where do we go from here?
Well, Brock had a year where I think he's a little bit frustrated because he didn't hit higher last year. He hit about 224, but he did hit 20 home runs and drive in 60 runs.
That's to shallow left center. Coming on Milner. Good speed, and the center field will take charge and make the catch. So the Dodgers are retired. No runs on a hit. And after one, the Reds lead it by a score of 1-0. We'll be back with more baseball after this word from our local stations. Down to Legion Park here in Southern California and back right into Dodger Stadium. There's some American League scores. Oakland 6-2 over Cleveland in the 5th inning. And Baltimore 5-0 over Milwaukee in the 4th. The Yankees 2-0 over Boston in the 2nd inning. Those are some of the scores that we have for you right now. So the birds are starting to chirp a little bit, Jim.
Certainly are. Well, after getting blown out, I think, what, 14-1 or 14-2 on Friday night in Tiger Stadium, then coming back to win 2 games, I'm sure that really lifted their spirits.
Here's Dan Dreesen. You saw the numbers. Dreesen against Valenzuela has not had great success. But on the year, hitting .302, 3 home runs, and 18 RBIs. First base side, Stubbs will do it himself. Takes him right to the bag, 1 away. Here's the catcher, Dan Billardello. And Jim, I have to think that whoever is behind the plate doing the catching for Cincinnati has still got to have that one little cloud hanging over his head by the name of Johnny Bench.
Well, I saw that in Baltimore when Doug DeCinces, who's had an outstanding career as a third baseman, came to take Brooks Robinson's place. It's very hard to follow a legend. And, of course, Johnny Bench is going to most likely go to the Hall of Fame. In fact, certainly will go there. It's not easy.
No, it sure isn't. Billardello at .248 for the home run and 8 RBIs. Infield, outfield, they play him about straight away. There's your defensive alignment. You can see the Dodgers, nothing out of the ordinary. Little looper, and that's going to drop for the base hit. Marshall will have to just pick it up, and they will hold Billardello at first base.
Batting 8, number 10, the shortstop, Tom Foley.
Here you see the pitch from Valenzuela, high breaking ball. Billardello hits it off his fist, and Russell just can't quite get to it.
You can see Billy kind of using that little hand sign and pointing out there. You'll see shortstops and second basemen use those with their right fielders, left fielders, their outfielders as a whole. As Tom Foley takes a strike, I can always remember Pee Wee Reese, and even in old-timers games, when he gets Snyder in center field, any pop fly hit, he'll be whistling and pointing in the air on a shallow fly ball. 0-2.
Well, at this particular time of the day, and really until it gets dark, it's just very hard sometimes for the outfielders to pick up the ball off the bat.
See the numbers right there on Foley. You can see Marshall is about the only outfielder now that's in a little bit of a shade. Landreau is not. Reynolds is not in right. Could be 2. Russell to Sachs, and they can't double him up. They did as good a job as they could do. The ball was not hit that well.
35.
Nice slider low and away. Not hit too hard, as you said, Don. Tough to turn, too. But after the last couple of days, the way the Dodgers have been playing with 7 errors in their last 2 games, I think they're just happy to get 1 out.
Boy, that can be the truth. Play them 1 at a time.
Well, I was talking to Bob Welch, who pitched yesterday and was a victim of non-support as far as infield defense. I said, you should have thrown some more fly balls.
This is Frank Pastore. Frank at 0-5-0. Has 1 RBI on the year. Has a couple of lifetime home runs. There's Guerrero. Sacks, and that will do it. Side retired. No runs on a hit. No errors and a man left. So we're through 1.5 right here at Dodger Stadium. It's the Cincinnati Reds 1. The Los Angeles Dodgers nothing. All right, Jim, thank you very much. As Mike Marshall will lead it off right here in the bottom of the 2nd inning. It'll be Marshall, Landreau, and Socia in that order. Marshall has had fair success, just 5 for 8, so you question how many games that he has actually seen Pastore. Marshall, excuse me, Jim.
I was just saying, this is the type of guy they need back in the lineup. He was out with a nerve disorder in his foot. Came back yesterday, his first game, hit a home run on a high changeup or a high breaking ball from Bob Knepper. But the Dodgers, as we said in the opening, are struggling for runs. And Marshall can put some runs on the boards for you.
Well, you can see what Tom Lasorda is thinking about right here as he moves his speed at the top with Saxon Reynolds. Then he's got some long ball threats of Guerrero, Stubbs, and Marshall. Followed by Kenny Landreau, who will hit a few home runs for you. 1-2. There's Tommy Lasorda down in the Dodger dugout on the 3rd base side. Monty Basco in the glasses. Trainer Bill Bueller on the far side.
There's that curveball, just stayed a little bit high. Really, the book on Marshall, he's got such great power out over the plate. You want to pitch him in, and I think we might be able to see in his batting. You can see how he's changed his stance a little bit. His hands are just laid back. He just said last year he had a loop. He had an excellent year, but he had a loop in his swing, and he just kind of changed his hands a little bit like Steve Garvey hits, and he's felt very comfortable with that position.
You know, I've felt many times, and I've commented on it. I said, you show a hitter that will turn the knob away from you, and if you've got any kind of a fastball, by the time he's got a chance to turn that knob back and move on a fastball up and in, he's going to have a tough time.
Well, guys like Dick Allen are rarities. He really cocked that bat, almost turned the head towards the pitcher.
Look at it. That is Foley to Dreesen, 1 away. That's what will happen with a pretty good fastball, and you give that little loop. Analyze this swing.
Batting 6.
You hear the result's going to be a fastball inside. He just doesn't get to it. You go back to the back rack for another bat.
I tell you, if we can keep that in the can, Kenny Fouts, our director, and Peter Lasser, our producer, that's just exactly what we were talking about. We'll show you that again. That is the fabled loop in the swing. Here's Kenny Landreau. Now watch that loop. Watch the top of his bat. He starts here. Jim, this is what I was talking about. Your good fastball in your heyday, where are you going to go to him? Right there.
Well, again, of course, you got to be able to do it. And that separates the good pitchers and the mediocre ones.
There you go. 2 balls and a strike. Landreau at 268.
Well, I learned a long time ago, my first year in baseball, our batting instructor was Gene Woodling. He used to play with the Yankees. And Gene was talking to one of the hitters, and he said, you're going to be a good hitter because you can hit the best pitch in baseball, and that's a good fastball. And Frank Pastore, who you see right here, has one.
Landreau didn't get it all. Parker, St. Neil, take it. And that is out number 2.
Batting 7.
So there's 2 gone as Mike Socia comes on.
Mike Socia.
You see the numbers on Socia, 286 with a home run and 12 RBIs. Socia will alternate with the veteran Steve Yeager behind the plate for the Dodgers.
It's kind of an amazing story. Mike Socia had a torn rotator cuff. He did not take surgery, but let it sat out most of last season. As we said earlier, he's had tremendous success throwing the ball, and then he's also coming back to hitting the way he did 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, that is amazing, too. When you think about all the things you've heard about rotator cuffs. 1 ball and 1 strike. He's mentioned that he's had to really teach himself how to throw all over again with that arm problem, release points and things like that. You just don't hear of that many people coming back from that rotator cuff injury.
It seems the game has changed. It used to be you just had a sore arm. Now you have a rotator cuff injury.
A ball and 2 strikes, that's right. Two and 2 the count. Well, that's what they diagnosed mine as here. That was maybe one of the first ones that happened. I never had surgery.
I was sitting in Dr. Curlin's office when he talked to Buzzy Bavasi about you.
Is that right?
He said, Drysdale has a rotator cuff injury. I said, what's that? He hurt his ankle or what? I mean, come on.
Shot right to Drayson at first. Just like that. The Dodgers are gone 1, 2, 3. No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left. And we're through 2 right here at Dodger Stadium. It's the Cincinnati Reds 1 and the Los Angeles Dodgers nothing. Well, they look at downtown Los Angeles. And boy, you think of this summer with the '84 Olympics here in town. Of course, ABC will be covering all of that. And this town will be buzzing. Right here, Lawless trying to bunt his way on. Fair foul. Hits that little clod and kicks foul.
We could thank the groundskeeper for that one.
Yes, sir. And, of course, one of the things, too, in this year's 1984 Olympics, you'll have baseball, a spectator sport. It'll be right here at Dodger Stadium. And just speaking along those same lines, Dr. Robert E. Smith, the president of the International Amateur Baseball Association, announced today that Japan and Canada will be added to this summer's Olympic baseball tournament. So it's getting a little bit bigger as we go along. 0-2 the count. Lawless singled his first time at bat and has scored the only run of the ball game.
He jumped on that high screwball. Will be interesting to see if Fernando will come back with another one. Hope that he's getting in a better place.
A ball and 2 strikes the count. Billy Russell on the second hop throws him out, 1 away. And that'll bring on Eddie Milner.
You see Bill Russell. It's just amazing. I think we were talking before about why Cincinnati seems to be playing a lot better than last year. You get a guy like Dave Parker, you get a guy like Tony Perez, you get a guy right here like Bill Russell. It's just a stabilizing force that allows the players, when things are going poorly, to relax a little bit more. And I think the Dodgers, and especially Tommy Lasorda, are very happy to see him back.
Well, there's no question about that as Eddie Milner stands in. Well, I'll tell you, you get a man in a clutch situation. You've seen it so many times in playoff games, and there's a veteran, Tony Perez, down in that Cincinnati dugout. Back home again. That is to right center and playable. Moving over is Reynolds, and Landro now calls him off, makes the catch. 2 gone, and right now let's pause 5 seconds to allow our local stations to identify themselves.
WKRC-TV, Channel 12, Cincinnati.
Well, with 2 outs, that'll bring on Gary Reedus. Reedus on a fielder's choice, stole a base, his 27th of the year. Big Dave Parker on deck. Cincinnati a run on 2 hits. The Dodgers no runs on 1 hit. We're 2 outs, and we're in the top of the 3rd.
An interesting thing that Vern Rapp was talking about was that he has a lot of players that took a long time to get to the major leagues, but they don't have a lot of experience. And he's really seen a difference in the play of some of the guys that have been around 2 or 3 years. Gary Reedus is a perfect example.
He's a notorious high ball hitter, but if you look at his average, over 300, he must be adjusting. He must be laying off some of those breaking pitches. It's made him a better hitter.
Well, I think one of the things is Father Time is starting to work a little bit more on the major league level than what he has in the past, Jim. I think you're going with the youngsters. You see a lot more youngsters at the major league level today, even though that they are being taught more than they used to in the years past. And I think some of the organizations are just saying that let's go and give them some experience here. They're going to have to come here anyway. Count remains at a ball and 2 strikes. They've got another youngster in this organization that they called up a while back and just sent back down a few days ago. Tommy Helms would tell me about it. When you keep this name in your pocket, there's a base hit down the left field line and more. Reedus with good speed. Marshall over. He will not have a chance to go anywhere but to the cutoff man, back to third base, and Reedus is there with a double.
Right fielder, James Parker.
And again, a ground ball over the bag. You have a tendency in Major League Baseball to bunch everybody. Guerrero tries to make the play, just eluding them. The ball there, and you have a base hit, and it turned out to be a double with Reedus' speed.
And, of course, you've got the man in scoring position as Dave Parker coming in, but just ending that little story about another young outfielder in this Cincinnati organization. His name is Eric Davis. He's from Los Angeles. Had a chance to see him in the spring, and he looked like he could do everything. Foul. That's first base side by Tommy Helms, that first base coaching box. Reedus, he's already to third. There's old T-Bone. Tommy Helm.
They call me coach. He said when you get to be my age, you just don't remember everybody's name. And here's a situation. I was talking to Wayne Krachicki, who's a utility player. This is where Parker's really helped him. The 2-out base hit with a runner in scoring position. He's done it a number of times this year. Something they didn't have last year.
Well, Parker with the 27 RBIs leading the ball club. So in that 4th spot, you got Parker with 27, Concepcion with 23. So you've got 50 right there between the two, but that won't get the job done, as it'll be Stubbs going to the bag, and that'll do it. So the Reds are gone in the 3rd. No runs, a hit. They leave a man, and we get ready to go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. It's Cincinnati 1 and the Los Angeles Dodgers nothing. Now that's coming your way. Exciting USFL action continues Sunday, when you'll see either the New Orleans Breakers taking on the New Jersey Generals, the Los Angeles Express meeting the Oklahoma Outlaws, or the Chicago Blitz facing the Houston Gamblers. Check local listings for the game and time in your area. That is the fight for the playoffs. Now they're narrowing down as Billy Russell stands in. Billy at 286 without a home run and 6 RBIs, off the disabled list for the first time tonight. Takes a strike. Got a full muscle in his side and the rib cage down on the right side. And he said, boy, he said, you talk about something hurting. Fouled away.
Well, he did it in a game against Dwight Gooden. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see him throw, pitcher for the Mets. Pitched against the Dodgers twice this year. One game struck out 11. The next game 14. Russell pulled that ribcage muscle in the first game, trying to check his swing on about a 95-mile-per-hour fastball.
That'll do it. If you're knowing you look at that kind of velocity, and you got to start that quick and check that quick, something can give. 1-2 pitch gets him. So Russell down on strikes. Boy, this is the first time he's been on the DL since 1975.
Number 34, so the pitcher, Fernando Valenzuela.
Well, Pastore, who has been throwing well, that's his first strikeout.
A good slider low and away. I think we're just going to have to watch him and monitor him. The last game he pitched, he just got a little bit of trouble with his control. If he throws strikes, he can be tough.
Now there is a nice pitch in a nice location as Valenzuela, who's not a bad hitter himself, stands in.
I was talking to Jose Morales. He said the problem with Fernando is he tries to hit home runs. He's only hit 2 in his career, but he is a good hitter. But even though his lights, I'm sure that, of course, you were an excellent hitting pitcher. My last year I hit 229. I figured I might as well go to the outfield.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
But what Fernando does, as all good pitchers do, he can field well, he can hit well, and obviously he can pitch well.
He's just a good athlete. There's a little looper. And coming on is Reedus, and that is out number 2. Little inside-out job right there. Boy, that is a slimmed-down version of Fernando Valenzuela. Remember him a couple of years ago, Jim?
Well, it's just amazing the difference body frame that he has as far as the amount of weight he's lost. Morales says, well, they work those pitchers hard in spring training down in Dodgertown. I said, wait a minute, I talked to Don Sutton for years. You could throw on your own, you could run on your own, you could play golf. I think things must have changed.
Here is Steve Sachs, a leadoff hitter, flying to right his first time at bat. On that inside corner, Story is coming right at him. Just outside. A ball and a strike. And moves on to 1 and 2. Dave Pullo on the home plate umpire said, yes, sir. Sometimes it takes that long. Well, in certain situations, we might turn around and switch and go from our center field camera. The catcher, they'll go through the sequence signs without any men on base. Sitting inside. 1 and 2 the count. Did you have a lot of players over at Baltimore that would take signs with a runner at second?
Not too much. They just like to hit, and they didn't really, I think a lot of hitters don't really feel comfortable hitting like that. Just in case the guy's wrong.
That's right. Off the end of the bat, Wallace will go to first in time. So the Dodgers go 1, 2, 3 here in the 3rd inning. And after 3, it's Cincinnati 1, the Dodgers nothing. Right now, let's go to Jim Lampley in New York.
Let's go back to the American League again for a look at the most unusual play of the night so far. Bottom of the 1st in New York. Don Baylor up against Boston with Willie Randolph on base. Lashed the line drive into the left field corner. Jim Rice hit the wall and was momentarily stunned into motionlessness as first Randolph and then Baylor both circled the bases. An inside the park job for Baylor. A 2-run lead for the Yankees over Boston. And we'll be back with more baseball immediately after these messages.
That's the story. After 3 complete from Dodger Stadium, the Reds on top 1-0. Along with Jim Palmer, I'm Don Drysdale. Happy you've joined us tonight on ABC's kickoff of the 1984 baseball season. Davey Concepcion takes a strike. Dave struck out his first time at bat. The only strikeout so far by Fernando Valenzuela. From that camera shot, you see the man in the white hat. There's a Dodger scout, Mike Brito, standing right next to our home plate camera, our low hole. Now, the gun that he'll put up is that radar gun. 1 and 2. Jim, what about that?
Well, they had Fernando clocked at 78 miles per hour. I think the radar gun is vastly overrated. It does tell you some things. And there you see a high curveball. Reynolds can't get to it. I just never felt that it really is indicative of how the ball moves. I don't care how hard you throw. You got to change speeds. You got to make good pitches. And I'm not sure it always gives you that indication.
Well, the one thing that I don't believe that it gives, and I got to agree with you 100%, the pitch is in the eye of the hitter. And that's when you talk about changing speeds. If you can change speeds, you can stand out there in that radar gun and throw an 80-mile-an-hour fastball. And if you've got an excellent change, an excellent, say, slow curveball, you come back in with your 80-mile-an-hour fastball, that's going to the eye of the hitter, is going to be much more so.
Well, that's exactly right. There's a pitcher in Baltimore, Scotty McGregor, who is one of the best pitchers, left-handers in baseball. Very rarely throws over 80 miles per hour, but has a great changeup, spots the pitch as well. Pretty good curveball. Not overpowering, but hitters don't like to hit off him. They like to hit off him, but it's a comfortable 0 for 4.
Yeah. 1 ball and no strikes to Dan Grayson. Infield, double play depth, the outfield about straight away. Valenzuela will keep Concepcion close.
Here's that classic situation where you have the first base hole, which you can see right there. Concepcion leading off. Grayson like to hit the ball into right field.
Dave, even though getting up in age, you still got to keep an eye on him. 12 stolen bases on the year.
Well, he had a shoulder problem last year, which affected his hitting. Only hit 1 home run. Feels a lot better this year. Already has 3 this season.
There's that gap there on the first base side that Jim was talking about. And there's a good pitch by Valenzuela. 2-1 the count.
Well, that's what makes Fernando the pitcher that he is. 2-0, probably looking fastball if you're a hitter. Throws you the good breaking ball for a strike.
Two balls and a strike. There he goes. High to center field. Landreau right there. Out number 1. Tonight's game is an exclusive presentation of ABC Sports and is being brought to you by Stroh's and Stroh's Light, fire brewed for a smooth taste. Here's the catcher, Dan Billardello, who singled his first time at bat. And down at 255 with a home run and 8 RBIs. Those are the kind of swings you like to see guys take.
Well, it was a good screwball. Of course, that's a great pitch to try to induce a hitter to hit a ground ball, and this is a situation where Valenzuela would like to get a ground ball to the infield to try to turn a double play.
And with the catcher running, you would like to take your chances. Billardello once was in the Dodger organization. As they keep Concepcion close, he was the Dodgers' #1 draft in the 1978 secondary phase. On the pitch that Grayson flied to Landreau on, Concepcion had an excellent jump. 0-2 the count. Jim, we've talked about pitchers changing their move a little bit coming to the plate. You would change yours a little bit.
Well, I tried to. I cheated off it for about 20 years. I'd stop in different places. And of course, if I got to come back again as a pitcher, I'd want to be left-handed so I could look at the runner at first. Have every right-hander come up to the plate so he's potential double play man. But then again, I just didn't want to think like a left-hander.
I've maintained many times that this is a left-hander's game.
Well, I don't have any complaints.
No.
Not too many.
That's to the right side, could be 2. Sacks to Russell for 1, and back to Stubbs a double play. And indeed they do, double him up. No runs on a hit, no errors, and nobody left. We get ready to go to the bottom of the 4th inning of play. It's Cincinnati 1 and the Los Angeles Dodgers 0. Now Frank Pastore completing his warm-up tosses. as he will face R.J. Reynolds, followed by Pedro Guerrero. There's a question. Who was the first player selected in baseball's free agent draft held on June 8, 1965?
Leading off for the Dodgers.
Well,
I know.
was that you?
No, I was way before the draft. I was the year before the draft, but I had a golf class at Arizona State University with this guy. Will that be a big enough clue?
You had a golf?
So I went to Arizona State.
It had, well, maybe Reggie?
No, it wasn't
before Reggie.
Same period as Reggie.
I tell you, it could be a man right here with the Dodgers. Talking about golf, that's R.J. Reynolds flying to Milner in center field.
Of course, he wasn't a very good golfer.
Rick Mundy, he's still not a good golfer.
No, well, you got the right answer. And you know his golf game well, too.
But I tell you what, he likes to play. Look at that. Mundy selected ahead of Ryan, Seaver, and Bench. And only, well, let's see, only John has hung him up. Tom Seaver, of course, being with the White Sox now. Nolan Ryan still going strong at Houston. And, of course, Rick Mundy right here. Down there standing on the far edge of that Dodger dugout. That is Guerrero, fouled away.
Don, this is a guy that the Dodgers got to get hot. Only guy in Dodger history that's ever hit 30 home runs and stole 20 bases in the same seasons. 32 home runs last year. I mean, this is a guy that's going to drive in the runs and hit the home runs for you.
0-2 the count. Well, just looking at that draft that we were talking about, as you look at Philadelphia, he takes a little beating right here. That'll shake the ivories a little bit. A two-strike pitch by Pastore got him on a good breaking pitch. There's Rick Mundy over there sitting on the other side of Fernando. Yep, got that glove. Don't lose the glove. But talking about that draft and Rick Mundy in 1968, let's go back and right up here now to 1974. Sean Abner of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. I should say 84. Is that what I said, 74? Sorry. But he was the first-round pick today by the New York Mets. As Franklin Stubbs takes up high, 1-0 the count. An outfielder. Good change.
Well, there's the fourth pitch. Hasn't been using it much, but it's certainly, he's thrown a couple before, and I think he threw a changeup to Stubbs before, and what it does with that good fastball, it just gives the hitter something else to look for. Puts in a little bit of doubt in the hitter's mind.
Just inside, and the count 2-1.
I once did a pitching clinic in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
Is that right?
I'm sure that Sean was there, and he decided to become a hitter.
And the count going even 2-2. Well, if he did, he picked the right thing to do, because all he did was hit .561 this year. That's not too bad.
Of course, this was back before the DH rule. I'm sure I mentioned hitting, so he probably listened to me in that respect, too.
Got him looking, and that will do it. So the Dodgers are gone in the fourth inning, 3 up, 3 down. We are through 4 from Dodger Stadium. It's the Reds 1 and the Dodgers nothing. Well, this Saturday we have a full lineup of sports action for you, starting at 2:30 Eastern and Pacific Time, 1:30 Central, with the Professional Bowler Spring Tour, the 115,000 Southern Cal Open from Riverside, California. Then live from Fort Worth, Texas, our best amateur boxers compete for a spot on the United States Olympic team in the Olympic boxing team trial. Then on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the fabled streets of Monte Carlo become a racetrack for the Grand Prix of Monaco, and live track and field action from San Jose, California at the U.S. Outdoor Track and Field Championships. World champion and Olympic gold medal hopeful Evelyn Ashford, plus many more top athletes at the U.S. Outdoor and Track Field Championships live, and it's all this Saturday. Well, there's a great lineup for you. As Tom Foley fouls the first pitch away. We're in the top of the fifth. 1-0 Cincinnati, the Tigers, 4-1 over Toronto in the fourth. Oakland now increased their lead 7-2 over Cleveland. And Baltimore still shutting out Milwaukee 6-0.
Mike Boddicker is pitching for the Orioles, going after his third shutout of the year.
And the Yankees 3-0 over Boston. And the White Sox 2-0 over California. That's in the fourth inning of play. And Minnesota 2-0 over Texas in the fourth. Just outside. There's one more American League score. Seattle 2-1 over Kansas City in the fourth. Royals have been playing good baseball. Now Foley is down on strikes. And for Valenzuela, that is his second strikeout of the evening. And it'll bring on Frank Pastore. In that Kansas City game, George Brett has hit his 5th home run of the year. And he's had home runs in his last 4 games. So look out. Here comes Georgie Porgy. Well, you get him hot, and he can run him up in a hurry. There's your National League strikeout leaders as Valenzuela moving right up on Ryan. That is up to date. 0-1 the count. Pastore ended the second inning on a fielder's choice. There's Ryan at 85 with Valenzuela now with 80. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Nobody on, and we're in the top of the 5th, 1-0. Cincinnati. They picked up their run in the first inning. See Socia kind of reminding Valenzuela right there, Jimmy. What would you think he would be doing?
Well, he's just telling him to keep that opposite shoulder tucked and stay down. As all pitchers do, a lot of times you get your opposite shoulder flying out, and you just can't throw the ball where you want. It's just amazing that a guy like Fernando can spot the ball and have the variety of pitches that he has. And there you see that really great screwball. Down and away, Pastore didn't have a chance.
So his 3rd strikeout.
Again, you watch that right shoulder. It's got to stay tucked in. There, it's tucked to his chin. He gets on top of that good screwball, and the result's strike 3. A common thing. I don't know how interested you were in mechanics, Don, because you had such a great career, but when you get out of kilter, it's real tough to throw the ball where you want it.
I think mechanics, I always said, Jim, you had to learn how to pitch all over again every spring. You got to go back to class again and get yourself back in the right groove.
Well, that's one of the difficult things that I found this year after pitching every 4th or 5th day, and there we see Philadelphia leading St. Louis in the 3rd, 1-0.
And the Mets over the Bucks 4-2 as Lawless takes a strike.
It's just real hard to pitch every 10 or 11 days when you're used to pitching 4 or 5.
Jim, you can't do it, and I'll guarantee you one thing. The older you get, I know you can't do it. You've got to stay in your routine more so than if you're 23, 24, 25 years old. I think that's just my opinion. 2-1 the count. Well, Baltimore worked with a 4. You've worked on 4 days rest, haven't you?
Almost my entire career.
Right.
They've gone back to that this year, mainly because of the great star of the Tigers, and it's worked out very well. You just wonder what it's going to do in late August when guys like Boddicker and Davis, people that haven't ever done it before, are affected by it. Scotty McGregor, of course, in the paper said the reason he felt that he had such a great year last year was the 5-man rotation. Just made him a little bit stronger. And again, not being a hard thrower, it's something he likes to have.
Stubbs over, and a good play. So the Cincinnati Reds will go 1-2-3 in the 5th inning. We're at the halfway mark. It's Cincinnati, a run on 4 hits. The Dodgers, no runs on only 1 hit. There you see coming up Marshall, Landreau, and Socia. Oh, you look at some of the high palms over at Dodger Stadium, and inside where the Dodgers have been averaging over 42,000 plus per home date. Another good crowd on hand here tonight to see the Reds and the Dodgers battle for the first time here in 1984. And it'll be Mike Marshall to lead it off. He'll be followed by Landreau and Socia. High in the infield, the shallow left. Moving out now is the shortstop, Foley, calling. And that is out number one. So one pitch, one out.
Center fielder, and Landreau.
Kenny Landreau flying to right. Now Ken is 0 for 1. Pastore sailing right along on a one-hitter. Pretty good change right there, Jim.
Certainly was. I've always felt, of course, I only pitched in Dodger Stadium one time in the World Series. This is a great mound for high fastball pitchers.
You bet it. You know, it's a great mound, I got to be honest with you, for everything, as you see the shortstop Foley charging to make the play. So there's two gone. It'll bring on the catcher, Mike Socia. Just a reminder that ABC Sports will present live and exclusive coverage of the 84th United States Open from Wingfoot Country Club in New York. And join us for this prestigious event on Saturday, June 16th and Sunday, June 17th, right here on ABC. 18-hole coverage. Here is Socia. Socia hit the ball hard his first time at bat, but right to the first baseman, Dan Dreesen. 2-0 the count. You're talking about that mound, and I've talked to hitters too. I think I've never heard a pitcher or a hitter complain about the mound or the batter's box here at Dodger Stadium. Hard and foul. But I think one of the great things about a high mound is we've talked a time or two about it. That lower back, Jim, as you well know, playing such an important part in the elevation of the ball going up and down. And when you're coming off a high mound, and that can really kind of do a little bit of the work for you and take it out of your mind, you're going to be bending that back coming down. Boy, what a help that is.
Especially when you wake up the next morning.
3-1 the count. The Dodgers have changed the infield dirt. They do not have that crushed brick clay that they've had here in the years past. As you can see, the different colors. If you're looking at us tonight on color, you see the dark dirt that they have moved in, but still a good batter's box and a good pitching mound as Socia draws a base on balls, and that is the first walk tonight issued by Frank Pastore. Billy Russell. There's a man that'll tell you about the infield right here at Dodger Stadium, Jim, and he loves it. It got so hard in the summertime when it would bake, and you would start to move on it, and the infielders, at times it would slide. It would be almost like a pie crust giving away, and you've seen infields like that.
Well, they have a similar infield in Anaheim.
That's the left but playable. We'll talk about that when we come back. Reedus makes the catch, and the Dodgers are gone in the fifth. So we're through 5 here at Dodger Stadium with Cincinnati leading by a score of 1-0. And we'll be back with more baseball after this word from our local station.
Jim Lampley again in New York. Maybe you're wondering if Don Baylor's inside the park home run drove Rice out of the game, and Rice after Rice hit the wall. No, he stayed in. Ron Guidry wishes he hadn't. The opposite field home run in the top of the 6th with Wade Boggs on base narrowed a Yankee lead to 3-2. Since then, Boston has scratched out another run, and so it's tied up at 3-3. And now let's go back to Don Drysdale.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. And indeed, that man, Mr. Jim Rice, can make a lot of pitchers wish he hadn't been in the lineup. Can he, Jim?
Well, he's only hit 9 home runs off me. Of course, 8 of them with the bases empty. So it kind of makes it all right.
There's Marty Brenneman on the right of your screen. Joe Nuxall, the veteran left-hander with Cincinnati for so many years, and Mario Soto in the middle, and still on that suspension. There's the strike on the curveball to Eddie Milner. But Soto will be coming back, and what is he, pitching Wednesday?
I talked to Vern Rapp, and he said, as far as he can see, he's going to pitch Wednesday. He doesn't see there'll be any problem. Of course, he was bothered by a blister on his pitching hand, so it's kind of opportune that you're going to get suspended. At least have it happen when you have a blister on your finger and you're not going to pitch anyway.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Now, if he can convince the Paylords that he was going to be out 5 days, so don't take any money on my suspension, I was going to be gone anyway. That's called having your cake and eating it too.
Well, I think the rule is that he probably is suspended without pay.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That's to the right side. Sacks there. Goes on to Stubbs, 1 away. And it'll bring on the left fielder, Gary Reedus.
Gary Reedus.
Here you see Steve Sachs on a routine play. Of course, last season, and every once in a while it isn't routine, he had that phobia about throwing the ball to first base. It seems when he can get set, he can take a little crow hop and take his time, he's fine. But as we saw in a game yesterday, when he has to make that quick throw, occasionally he'll still make a wild throw.
He's had all 8 of his errors have been throwing errors. And you know, even that particular play, as we looked at the replay, that wasn't a very nice, free and easy throw. There's the strike to Reedus.
I think he'd like to have that one back. That's his pitch to hit. But again, as we said, with Fernando, you don't know what to look for. He's got the ball moving into you, away from you with a screwball, and he's got a good enough fastball to sneak it by you.
1-0, Cincinnati on top. We're in the top of the 6th inning. Cincinnati trying to break a 5-game losing streak at the hands of the Atlanta Braves. That's Luke foul right side, 1-2 the count, and the Dodgers lost 2 out of 3 to Houston. So indeed, that Western Division of the National League is just like a turntable, keeps rolling around.
Atlanta certainly had their share of injuries. Bob Warner apparently broke his wrist and will be out for the season again.
Boy, that is a tough break.
And of course, you have San Diego. They've come back. Yesterday won 7-5, 7-6, putting runs on the board, getting their starting pitchers to a point where they can get to Goose Gossage.
A little low. The count goes even at 2-2, and it's Warner evidently did not play in that Cincinnati series. We were talking with Tommy Hume prior to the game, and said he never played over there. So I guess it was in the Cubs series.
Well, I saw him dive for a ball in the Cubs series, and he had gotten 4 hits the night before, 4 for 4, and then he didn't play the next night.
Wide to Guerrero, has it on a good play, and they can't get him. Boy, does he go down the line.
Right fielder, Dave Parker.
Again, a pretty good pitch from Valenzuela. The one thing, as we said, you can't contend with is speed, and Reedus beats it out.
Boy, he beats that out with ease. Now we'll keep an eye on him. He's had 1 stolen base tonight, his 27th of the year. So Reedus is 2 for 3 as Dave Parker stands in. He's bounced to second and bounced to first.
It's a pretty good hit-and-run situation, even though Parker does strike out a lot. But I would think right now Vern Rapp would love to get another run.
You know, it's awfully nice, too, being a hitter like Parker with a man with that speed of Reedus on first. How many times do you think your percentages change there from fastball to off-speed pitches?
Well, that's true, and it's kind of a cat-and-mouse game. Can Valenzuela throw that fastball low and away so Parker hits it to either second base or left field? If he throws the same pitch he did last time, it could be a single into right field.
He's got him picked off. Stubbs to the shortstop. Russell makes the tag. So that'll go 1-3-6. And here's a play. Jim will talk about that from this camera angle.
Well, it's a tough play. It helps to be left-handed. You don't have to take that step out into the infield. Good throw. Nice tag, and he's out. Eddie Murray, who's one of the best fielding first basemen in the American League, has a tremendous amount of difficulty making that play only because he's right-handed.
That's true. Sachs can't get that. It goes under his glove. So Parker's aboard. I don't know if they've lost that or not. Down on the truck, that's Kenny Fouts, our director. But there is the way that it has to be done, and the reason it's so tough on the right-handed first baseman is because if you don't come up to meet the ball, you've got to throw over the runner. And you'll see your good right-handed first basemen, they will come up and they will throw at an angle. Now, to counter that, you'll see the good base runners will try and stay as close to the inside of the line as they possibly can, right towards the grass. But a left-hander, as you say, in Stubbs, he's got a definite advantage. Now Parker with a base hit. And here is Davy Concepcion. Concepcion is struck out, and he is single. Big Dave Parker at first. A run on 6 hits, no errors for Cincinnati. No runs on 1 hit, and no errors for the Dodgers. 0-2. There's a case you could see Socha just take that thumb and move over there. He wanted Valenzuela to go to first. Parker can run. You know why Steve Sachs. What happened?
He said that's a long way to run, have the guy strike out. That was strike 3 on Concepcion.
I waited to see that call. Parker, he says that's too hard to go. So that will do it for Cincinnati here in the
he's laughing.
6th inning.
He lost 30 pounds, and here he gets a good jump. High fastball on the inside part of the plate. Tough to make a throw from. Sachs just misses the ball.
And right now we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Cincinnati leading it 1-0. Now back at Dodger Stadium along with Jim Palmer, I'm Don Drysdale. It is 1-0 Cincinnati over the Dodgers as Fernando Valenzuela will lead it off right here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Valenzuela, and the top of the order, it'll be Steve Sachs and R.J. Reynolds. Pastore has pitched a brilliant one-hitter so far.
Certainly has. He's shown the Dodgers that high fastball, pretty good curveball, occasional slider as he struck Guerrero out, and then a changeup every once in a while to keep him honest. Just wonder what's going through his mind. He lost the game where he went into the 8th inning with a 2-hitter on Thursday. There you see a good breaking ball. 3-1. First baseman to Pastore. You just wonder, I think he's probably thinking to himself, I'd like to have a few more runs. Valenzuela, of course, has won 2 1-0 games already this year. He's kind of used to low-run ball games.
You know, you can think back in the years, a lot of people have said, well, didn't that put a strain on you? But at times, sure, it's nice to have a lot of runs and things like that, but sometimes you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard spot in trying to answer that question, because you can say, well, it makes you bear down, it keeps you in there a long time, and you don't get careless. But on the other hand, boy, it's nice to just anybody to have a picnic on a Sunday afternoon. Get me more than 3.
3 to 5 was a good number.
That's right.
But then again, if you were going to give up 4 or 5, you need 7 or 8 would have been a good number.
There were a couple of years out here, if you gave up 3, you took a big L. This is Sachs, who is 0 for 2. He is flied to right, and he's bounced to second. The Dodgers have had only 1 base runner since the first inning. They had a 1-out double by R.J. Reynolds, and then they had a walk. That was in the 5th inning, and that was to Mike Socia, and that's been it. There's a strike, 2-1 the count.
Well, Earl Weaver always had a saying to me when I had a 1-run lead: you never can get beat till you get a guy on. And we saw right there 2-0 Pastore, who has had a confidence problem, come in and challenge Steve Sachs, who's a good fastball hitter with a fastball. And there's another one.
That's right. 2 hops to Lawless, and he gets him. Well, you've seen it happen so many times, especially on younger pitchers. You look at Vern Rapp, and that is, if they hit the ball out of the ballpark, the worst that can happen is you're tied. Here's R.J. Reynolds. This was the first time at bat in the first inning. He hits a rocket down that first base line. That's the only hit off of Frank Pastore tonight. Reynolds, in his second time at bat in the 4th inning, flied to center field. So he's 1 for 2. Were there mounds in the American League, Jim, that you did not like to pitch off of?
Usually the ones that were real close to the stands, like Boston, Detroit. No, but really, I mean, seriously, the mound in Boston was excellent, even though you had a very short left field porch. But Detroit, which is a real good hitter's park, very flat mound. You had to really wake up the next day with your back fouled. You had to really work hard if you were an overhand upright type pitcher.
1 ball and 2 strikes to count to R.J. Reynolds.
Used to pitch in Fenway Park, and the next day there'd be green all over the back of my uniform. The wall was so close.
I didn't like those parks where the fences were right behind me. I pitched in a few of them, the fences were too short. 2-2 the count. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Frank Pastore. That's outside. Now you could see Pastore shaking off signs, but all he's doing is shaking off with the catcher too.
A lot of times you just shake off to maybe give a little bit of doubt to the hitter. He's looking fastball, all of a sudden you shake off and you say, oh, he might be throwing me a breaking ball. Or deception.
Out of play. And the count remains full at 3-2.
I don't know about you, Don, but when I had 1-0 games or games where I had 1-run leads, I always felt that I would have more comfortable going with my good fastball if I had one than throwing breaking balls, a pitch that I didn't really or wasn't able to spot. I always felt if you're bunching everybody as Cincinnati is the Dodger hitters, you want them to hit it to the biggest part of the ballpark. It's a little bit harder to hit your home runs and a little bit harder to get your extra base hits.
And he gets him on that good high hard one. Well, the Dodgers are gone. It's a 4 strikeout for Pastore. 1-2-3 in the 6th inning, and we're through 6 innings of play from Dodger Stadium. It's the Cincinnati Reds 1 and the Los Angeles Dodgers nothing. Come back at Dodger Stadium. A reminder, tonight's game is an exclusive presentation of ABC Sports. It is being brought to you by Bud Light. The best has a taste all its own, satisfying but never filling. And as we go to the top of the 7th, it'll be Dan Dreesen to lead it off. He'll be followed by Dan Bilardello and Tom Foley.
And of course, Dan Dreesen had his best years when he was part of the Big Red Machine. Nice to hit after you hit after Bench and Perez and all those guys.
Dan has had some good years. There's no question about that.
Well, he had some knee problems last year. but he looks like he's back in fine shape this year, hitting over 300. Good guy to hit 6th or 7th in your lineup. Or tonight, hitting 5th.
He's bounced to first and flying to center, 0 for 2. And Valenzuela takes the count 3-0. On that outside corner, boy, there's a pretty good 3-0 pitch right there.
I don't think he was trying to make that pitch. I know. Just try to throw it for the middle of the plate. The variable chance deviation theory works. You hope it goes somewhere over for a strike.
And he walks him. Well, Dreesen is aboard. And that is the first walk for Valenzuela. Right now, let's pause 5 seconds to allow our local stations to identify themselves.
WKRC-TV, Channel 12, Cincinnati.
And Philadelphia next Monday night, right here on ABC. It'll be the Tigers at Toronto and Atlanta at San Diego. You can check your local listings for the game in your area. Good bunt. Valenzuela has to hurry, has it, and throws him out.
As we said, he's a good fielder. Just made a bad decision in the first inning. Makes the play easier.
Well, here's a case right here that's interesting. You bunt your catcher. You've got a left-hand hitting shortstop coming up. You're ahead 1-0, and you've got Pastore, the pitcher, to follow with 1 out.
Well, they're just trying to get that extra run. It's kind of a gamble.
1 ball and no strikes to count.
I really think I was talking to Vern Rapp, and they have a third baseman who played last year, hit 12 home runs, Nick Saski, who has just gotten off to a very poor starter. You probably see Concepcion at third base.
There's a couple of hops to the second baseman. Boy, I'll tell you one thing. His arm doesn't look sound at all throwing that way. And, you know, we saw it last year, Jim. Let's take another look at that. Just watch the fluidness of his arm.
Well, I think the thing that he's trying to do is, there you see the crow hops. He gets set, but he's really throwing off his back foot. Not a very comfortable throw, but a successful one.
Right now, Tommy Lasorda says, don't bother me, it's an out. There's Joe Sparks talking to Pastore. He was on a fielder's choice to end the second inning. He struck out in the 5th. So, in essence, this is what Vern Rapp's done. He's put the sacrifice on with his catcher in the 7th spot. His 8th spot, the left-handed hitter to the left-handed pitcher, Valenzuela, has bounced out. And now it's up to his pitcher with 2 outs to try and drive in the run. And Pastore tonight, coming into tonight's game, as you look at Dreesen at third, hitting 0-5-0.
Well, as we said earlier, Valenzuela has thrown 6 wild pitches. Maybe this is what Vern Rapp is hoping for.
1 ball and 1 strike to count. Matter of fact, Frank's average has gone down to 0.45. And away with that swing and that screwball, it might go a little lower with 1 more strike. 1 and 2 the count.
Well, at least he's got 1 hit. That means he's going to hit something for the year.
That's right. You can't take that away from me, right? Off the end of the bat, Billy Russell right there as he goes on the stump, and that'll do it. No runs, no hits, no errors, and a man left. And we go to the bottom of the 7th inning from Dodger Stadium. It's still the Cincinnati Reds 1, the Los Angeles Dodgers 0. As we get ready to go to the bottom of the 7th inning, Cincinnati on top 1-0. It'll be Pedro Guerrero, Franklin Stubbs, and Mike Marshall in that order to face right-hander Frank Pastore. You see the totals? A run on 6 hits for Cincinnati. No runs on 1 hit for the Dodgers. That was a 1-out double in the very first inning by Jay Reynolds.
Pedro Guerrero.
Guerrero has bounced to third and struck out. Little high, 1-0 the count. Guerrero with just 3 home runs on the year. You see right there, and 120 at-bats. A lot of people that think Pedro has been a little over-anxious, trying to live up to that contract, carrying a little bit more than what he really should. You look at Rick Monday with a bat in his hand. 1-1 the count.
I think the unique thing, along with some other hitters in the major leagues like Jim Rice, Guerrero can not only hit a lot of home runs, but he hits for a high average. Hit 298 last year. But as you said, I've seen a lot of guys who hit the ball out of the ballpark, whether it's Reggie Jackson when he played for us, Eddie Murray. Occasionally they'll expand the strike zone. When they do that, they lose their ability to really hit the ball with authority. And Guerrero, as you said, is swinging a lot of bad pitches, making it a lot easier for the pitcher.
A little high, and the count goes to 3-1. Well, Guerrero, a 302 lifetime hitter.
Here you see the high fastball. Pastore's trying to throw him on the inside part of the plate. You see the ball run in. 2-1. He wants to throw a strike.
And he walks him. Or possibly Guerrero becoming a little bit more patient. That is the second walk issued by Pastore. So the Dodgers put the tying runs aboard here in the bottom of the 7th inning, and that'll bring on Franklin Stubbs, the first baseman, who's 0 for 2. Flied to center and struck out.
Something we're going to have to watch, Don, is that Vern Rapp, Cincinnati manager, has a problem here. Bill Sheriff hurt his ankle, their left-handed #1 relief pitcher, running in the outfield, has a tremendously swollen ankle. And Ted Power got a lot of use over the weekend, and it's probably overworked.
Well, he mentioned, he said Atlanta caught his ball club just flat tuckered out. There's the strike with a breaking pitch, 0-1 the count. So here's what Tommy Lasorda's thinking. You've got your #4 man in the lineup. You're going to possibly bunt. There's Bob Ochinko, the left-hander. And Keith Cotto, spelled K-A-T-O. Or C-A-T-O, I should say. And a bunt again. Out in front of the plate, it's the third baseman. That is Concepcion to throw him out. So the sacrifice works. That'll be 5-4 if you might be scoring with us.
Or just a routine sacrifice right out in front of the plate, but it bounces high enough. And there you see David Concepcion, as we said. Golden Glove shortstop, has great range at third base.
And Mike Marshall stands in, who has bounced to short and popped to short.
Boy, it's great, Don, when you have a guy come up to you and say, I don't want to tell you how old I was, but I used to come out and watch you every time you came to Comiskey Park. I made sure I was there. I guess he must live in the Chicago area.
He does. He certainly does.
He had a ball off me in spring training this year, a fastball out over the plate. That the only thing that kept it from going about 440 feet was a center field fence in Miami. He said, I just wanted you to throw that curveball. I used to watch that when I was a kid.
And doesn't get the breaking pitch. He's from Libertyville, Illinois. Suburbs of Chicago. That is the tying run at second base in the name of Pedro Guerrero. Marshall has bounced to short, as I mentioned before, then popped to short. 0 for 2 tonight. A little high. 1-1 the count.
I think what we're seeing is Pastore's getting the ball up a little bit, which is fine. But you got to be ahead in the count and hope that they chase that good high fastball. He tried to go up and in on Guerrero, and he did, but the ball was a little bit out of the strike zone, and we had a base on ball.
Good breaking pitch. 1-2 the count. Well, the Reds still feeling that Pastore is throwing well enough. They've got Milner, their center fielder, slightly in right center. Parker shading a little bit towards the line in right.
Marshall basically really drives the ball to right field. Yesterday he did hit that hanging breaking ball for a home run into left field.
High, 2-2 the count. Well, if you're looking at Marshall and you took 1,000 at bats, and let's say at that particular time, hypothetically, at 500 balls over the fence, most of them would be straight away. That's where his power is. He's a straightaway type hitter. Good power to right center, left center. Got him looking. Now Marshall called out on strikes on the breaking pitch. Number 5 for Pastore.
And you can see from that it was a pitch up in the strike zone. It looked like a slider that he got up, but he fooled him. And this might have something to do with twilight. Pretty good pitch to hit.
You're darn right it was. He got away with it, I believe. Well, they have a little chat at the mound. Kenny Landreau stands in. He's 0 for 2, is flying to right and bounced to short. Well, Guerrero remains at second base. Line down the left field line. That's a base hit. That'll tie it up. Guerrero around third. He'll score. Landreau going to second base. A throw by Reedus. Not in time. Jim?
Well, Landreau once had a 31-game hitting streak in the American League. He hits the ball where it's pitched. That ball was up and away. He went with it, slapped it to left field for a double.
And hit it hard. And that will bring on Mike Scioscia. Well, Landreau trading places with Guerrero, who scored a 1-1 tie. He represents the go-ahead run. Their ball missing outside. Want to know the count.
We might see a pitch around here. First time up, Scioscia hit a high curveball, lined it to first base. The next time, Pastore walked him. I think he'd rather pitch to Bill Russell, who's on deck.
I would have to think so, and it's for a couple of reasons. But he doesn't. That's fouled as Mota plays it on a high hop. Just that, percentage-wise, you've got a right-hander to a left-handed hitter. You've got first base open. Russell just coming back off of the the disabled list. There's Hershiser throwing in the Dodger bullpen. One ball and one strike, 2 outs, a run in a 1-1 tie. Into center field, right there in his tracks, and now coming on is Milner to make the catch, and that'll do it. Side retired, but the Dodgers come up with a run on a hit, and they leave a man aboard. We are through 7. It's the Reds 1 and the Dodgers 1. As we go to the top of the 8th inning, it'll be the top of the order for Cincinnati. Tom Lawless, Eddie Milner, and Gary Reedus in that order. So Valenzuela and Pastore locked up in a 1-1 tie.
We can almost look for a bunt here. Tom Lawless almost bunts every time up. We have the infield way in at the corners. Outside. There you can see Pedro Guerrero third. Franklin Stubbs over at first. Not quite as shallow as Guerrero. Makes it a lot easier to hit the ball by the third and first baseman if you get him in like that. They got to respect that bunt.
There's the strike in the count, 2-1. Tommy Lasorda and Monty Basco on your left with the glasses on.
Tommy looks like he's saying, when are we going to score 10 runs and I can relax?
And there's possibly ball 3, but the count 2-2.
Well, it's a good hitter's count. Lawless is looking for a fastball most likely, or at least hoping for one. And he gets one, but it's a little out of the strike zone. Can't quite get to it.
That's it. Well, Lawless strikes out, and that'll bring on Eddie Milner.
And here's that good fastball. Kind of cut it. Sailed in on Lawless. Again, couldn't quite get to it for strike 3.
Now on pitch 101 from Fernando Valenzuela. He gets Lawless to strike out, and Eddie Milner standing in, who is 0 for 2 tonight. Breaking pitch a little bit low. 1 ball and no strikes to count. And the count 2-0. Valenzuela has fallen behind Lawless and Milner here in the 8th inning. Came back to strike out Lawless. 2 balls and no strikes to Milner. Stubbs guarding the line at first, with Guerrero guarding the line at third.
I think he might be getting a little bit tired. We talked earlier about how important it is to keep the opposite shoulder in. He's thrown about 5 or 6 consecutive high pitches. The difference, of course, is Tom Lawless helped him out by swinging at 2 or 3 of them.
And that's high, and he walks him. So the Reds put the go-ahead run aboard, and that'll bring on Gary Wheeler. And a reminder, this telecast is presented by the authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Reedus 2 for 3. Starting tonight at 314, you see he's raised that average to 321. You've got good speed at first in Milner, who has 17 stolen bases on the year. Fernando Valenzuela aware of that. And good speed at the plate in Reedus. A 1-1 tie. To the hole, base hit left field. Milner going to go to third. Marshall doesn't have a play. Reedus starts a second and hold. Oh my! Whether Marshall was slow getting on the ball, and Milner had to play right in front of him, and he went to third without a throw.
We talked about the one denominator that's hard to contend with, and that's speed. Guerrero's in on just in case Reedus bunts, or even with a bag. Marshall doesn't have a chance, and if he did make the throw to third, it would have probably set up a situation where you had runners on second and third.
That's exactly right. Watch Milner going all the way. Oh, he can scoot. There's a nice shot, guys. That's what I like to see. They will repair the divot at third as Big Dave Parker stands in. Is hit number 7 off of Fernando. Now you've got to keep an eye on Reedus at first. We said before he's stolen 1 base this year, but the last time in the 6th inning, after he singled, Valenzuela picked him off. So you've got Parker, followed by Concepcion with Milner at third. He's the go-ahead run. A 1-1 tie, 1 out, 2 on, top of the 8th inning.
Mixed emotions. If you're managing, you want to have that first base hole with the runner holding Reedus at first. You don't want him to get picked off again, because then you get to the 2-out situation.
There's the base hit right field. That'll score Milner. Going to third is Reedus. The throw, not a good throw, cut off by Russell. And the Cincinnati Reds take the lead 2-1. Now, Dave Parker with his second RBI of the night, number 29 on the year, Jim.
Well, there you see another high fastball, and as we said, Fernando's been getting the ball up. just helps to have a veteran player with a lot of youngsters on the ball club. It seemed that everybody got down on him in Pittsburgh because after you win a batting championship 2 consecutive years, people have great expectations, but Parker lost a lot of weight. He's been getting key hits.
Well, you've got Reedus' excellent speed at third. It appeared that Reynolds would have a shot at Reedus because he was going to challenge him all the way, except he threw the ball into the ground. And then it was cut off by Russell. 1 ball and no strikes. Tommy Lasorda. A little uneasy in that bullpen. Zachary on the left. He's the right-hander. And Carlos Diaz, the left-hander. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, a run in. And runners at the corners. You've got Reedus at third with Parker at first. That's the 8th Cincinnati hit tonight. Infield, double play depth.
I could really see how Cincinnati could give you a lot of trouble on the AstroTurf, artificial turf.
Oh, boy.
Because they really haven't hit Valenzuela hard. They just kind of sprayed the ball around, taking advantage of their speed.
Dodgers trying to guess along with the thinking of Vern Rapp. Nothing happening. 2-1 the count.
It was a good situation if you want to stay out of double play to possibly hit and run. Kind of a smart play, but except that Fernando is struggling this inning. And again, speed makes you get behind the hitter.
Here's a squeeze. Good squeeze by Concepcion. And they throw Concepcion out, but Reedus scores. It's a 3-1 ball game.
Here's a pitch that Davey couldn't hit, but he could bunt it. Made a great bunt on a tough pitch to handle, and the score is 3-1.
There comes the runner. Boy, that was a great effort by Davey Concepcion. Parker bluffing third as Grecian goes through the fastball, and the count is 0-1. Dan tonight is 0 for 2. He has bounced to first, fly to center, walked his last time at bat in the 7th inning. He'll give Concepcion an RBI, his 24th of the year. And that's the story. The Reds on top 3-1. Well, the 2 men, Parker and Concepcion, leading the club in RBIs. Vern Rapp, he has a little reason to smile. Late innings on top 3-1. With a couple of RBIs now has 29. Concepcion with 24. And Grecian down on strikes, and that'll do it. But the Reds pick up 2 runs on 2 hits, no errors, and leave him at a board. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning, and Cincinnati leads it by a score of 3-1. Now there are the scheduled hitters: Bill Russell, Fernando Valenzuela, and Steve Saps. But Tommy Lasorda will look at his bench, and you see the 2 left-handers, Mundy and Whitfield. We will see Whitfield for Russell, and then from the right-hand side, you have Anderson, Yeager, Morales, Baylor, and Maldonado. Ron Oster is in at second base for Cincinnati, so put Oster in that leadoff spot.
Number 45, Terry Whitfield.
And Terry Whitfield is going to hit for Russell. Frank Pastore now has himself the luxury of a 2-run lead. Cincinnati on top by a score of 3-1. Whitfield hitting .227 on the year, 4 home runs, 14 RBI. Looks at a strike in the count, 1-1.
When I was talking to Terry, of course, last year, as we said, he played in the Japanese League, hit 38 home runs. Said he wanted to be closer to home. Mother and father weren't feeling particularly well in and out of the hospital. There we see an attempted bunt for a base hit going foul down the third baseline. Just said he wanted to be a little bit closer home. When the Dodgers offered him a contract, he said he couldn't think of a better club to play for.
Now Whitfield Of course, with the Giants.
Came up with the Yankees.
Came up with the Yankees, right? Look at that. National League all-time record. You see pinch hit home runs in 3 consecutive games, 1, 2, and 3. Maldonado, Yeager, and Landeskog. Interesting about Landeskog, that is hit foul outside of third. After he hit the home run and the game was over and the Dodgers losing cause to Houston, that scored 5-3 Houston. They wanted to send Landeskog to Albuquerque. And now we understand that Landeskog has not gone to Albuquerque, that the Dodgers have put him on waivers for the purpose of giving him his release. A little bit low, the count, 1-2. 2-2, check the count. That's Rick Monday on deck.
First player ever chosen in the amateur draft. That was a long time ago.
1965. Pops him up into shallow left, coming on as Ritas Lazaro. Out number 1. So Rick Monday comes on. Monday hitting .250 with a home run and 7 RBI. Zachary, the right-hander, still throwing in the bullpen, so he will probably be Tommy Lasorda's choice to come on and pitch tonight. You see Pat Zachary.
And we talked about what Perez and Dave Parker mean to the Cincinnati Reds. Rick Monday has been here a long time. The type of guy you want on the bench. Part-time player, could get the clutch hit. Good defensive outfielder. Good low fastball hitter. That's where his power is. But drives the ball to the opposite field.
Bounces out to the right side. Ron Oster right there throws him out. 2 gone.
Second baseman, Steve Sass.
Scores in the National League. The Mets over the Pirates at a final 4-2. Oakland in the American League defeating Cleveland 7-3, and the Indians falling on hard times. Steve Sax tonight is 0 for 3. In that Oakland 7-3 win over Cleveland, Bruce Bochy hit his 5th home run of the year. Bill Kruger picked up the win, 4-1. Neil Heaton took the loss. He is 3-5. On ball and no strikes to Sachs with R.J. Reynolds on deck. And that Met 4-2 win over Pittsburgh. Ron Darling the winner 4-3, and Don Robinson took the loss. Jesse Orozco his 9th save of the year. 2-0 the count. There's the strike. Good location. Two balls and a strike. Look out! Got him in the right shoulder, doesn't see it, and Stax beats it out. Oh! As Concepcion comes over, Pastore is not going to rub it. You could hear that up here, Jim.
You certainly can, and 2-1 count, you're really concentrating with a 2-run lead of throwing a strike. And a lot of times, you don't, or really aren't prepared for the ball back up the middle. Primary thing you want to do is throw a strike, and it's tough to get your glove up when the balls hit that hard.
Oh, and that ball had to hit him solid the way it bounced. You see, he doesn't see it, hits him solid, and just goes with the angle of his body over towards first base. Right there. They're not going to take any chances, I don't believe, as Pastore will leave. He's okay. Now there is Tom Hume coming on, so we have a break in the action. 2 outs and a man on. Cincinnati leading 3-1. in the bottom of the 8th inning, and we'll be back with more baseball after this word from our local station. Hume is making his 24th appearance of the year. He will be given all the opportunity and time that he needs to warm up with the injury to Frank Pastore, and we certainly hope that it is not serious as we watch Pastore go into the dugout during the commercial break. As here you'll take a look at it. I think what he's basically doing right now is that hit him just above the right elbow, Jim, trying to slap a little color in his face.
Well, exactly, and he, of course, is going to go right into the training room and put some ice on that. I think he'd like to be able to take his next turn, especially after the performance he had tonight. It was really overpowering. I mean, the last pitch he threw was still at 91 miles per hour. Got his breaking ball over, changed speeds.
Well, that's the story with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Right now, let's go to Jim Lampley in New York for an update.
It had been a quiet night for Tiger fans up until this moment. Bottom of the 7th, Toronto leading 3-0. 2 runners on. Howard Johnson, moments after a loud foul, came back against Dave Stieb with this 3-run shot off the right field pole, and the Tigers have tied it up now in the 7th at 3-3. Let's go back to Don Drysdale in Dodger Stadium.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. And indeed, what a big ball game that is. And to have that crowd at home, Jim, and come back with Dave Stieb shutting you out 3-0, that's got to be a little bit of an adrenaline boost right there.
Certainly doesn't. I mean, it's just amazing how a crowd can sometimes spur you on. And of course, I'm sure Dave Stieb's not happy about that 3-run home run, but it's a tough ballpark to pitch in. As we said earlier, it's a hitter's park. I mean, I'd be very happy with a shutout for 7 innings.
That's right. We go back to the old minor league rules, huh? Give me the 7-inning game.
Second game of a doubleheader.
That's it. Here's R.J. Reynolds as he represents a tying run now. It's 3-1, Cincinnati on top. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning, 2 outs. Hume over to first again. Sachs is there. Reynolds is 1 for 3 tonight. He doubled in the first inning off of Pastore to allow a run on 3 hits in 7 2/3 innings. And I don't believe R.J. Reynolds is going to like that call a bit.
No, I talked to Tom Hume. I mean, we're talking about a guy that once had 25 saves in 1980. I said, how you feeling? Because he had some knee problems and some shoulder problems. He said, great when they hit the ball at somebody. But he threw a good sinker there and was a little bit out of strike zone, but Doug Malone called it a strike. If you're a pitcher, that's the kind of pitch you want. It's nice to throw pitches that are balls that the umpire may call a strike.
Boy, I tell you, you say to yourself, if you're going to give me that one, I'll just stay there until you decide not to.
But also, we've seen Tom Hume throw over to first base. Sachs has 12 stolen bases, but also been thrown out 12 times. With a 2-run lead, you're worrying about the guy at home plate. And Davey Concepcion, again, showing what a veteran can do, went over to Tom Hume and said, hey, let's get the guy out at home.
That's exactly right. Sachs's run, as far as Cincinnati's concerned, and really not that important. There is the strike. It will make the score 3-2, naturally. But the man at the plate is the tying run, and that's the one that you want. Now Concepcion, with a 2-strike count, will back up and still guard the line at third. Davey had to dive for a ball. That foul line had hit him right about in the knees. Missing outside, and the count 2-2. There's a quick throw that Sachs won. Here's a case, too. Now, you've got Hume, Jim, a sinker ball pitcher. You've got to say to yourself, if this man's going to do anything big against me, he's going to have to take this low sinker away and hurt me.
Tom has been watching the game. Reynolds' first hit was on a breaking ball.
There's a tough play that gets by Hume, but it don't. Good play as they get it. He made that a little tougher than what it had to be. But he'll take it anyway, and the Dodgers are gone in the 8th inning. No runs on a hit, no errors, and a man left. So we are through 8 complete from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. It's the Cincinnati Reds 3 and the Los Angeles Dodgers 1, and we'll be right back in a moment. And the top of the 9th inning, a new shortstop for the Dodgers, Dave Anderson, and a new pitcher, right-hander Pat Zachary.
For the Reds leading off, catcher Dan Bellardello.
Here's the catcher, Dan Bilardello. He'll be followed by Foley and then Hume. Bilardello 1 for 2 tonight. He singled in the second. He hit into a double play in the fourth, and he sacrificed in the seventh. 0-1 the count. Zachary, a record of 2-1 and a 2.91 ERA, making his 18th appearance of the year. And very quickly, the count goes to 0-2.
As we said earlier, the Dodgers are leading the National League in pitching. Here's one of the reasons, and with Tom Niedenfuhr out with a sore elbow, not going to even throw a ball till next Saturday, they're going to count on Zachary to maybe be their short man from the right side.
Slider outside, and the count of 2 strikes. Well, the thing, they've got to miss Niedenfuhr. They have 10 saves on the year. Niedenfuhr has 7 of them. Putin 2 and Diaz 1. Two balls and 2 strikes to count. Gets it. Well, Zachary with his first strikeout.
He's got a great changeup. He just struck out Bilardello with it. The only question with him is Niedenfuhr being the short man, he'd have to throw almost every night, some occasions. I'm not sure if Pat Zachary really has ever done that job. He's been more of an intermediate, long type of pitcher.
It'll be a question and a test of his stamina. One ball and no strike. There's a strike in the count, 1-1. Field and playable. Landreau right there. And Foley's gone. And that'll bring on the pitcher, Tom Hume, his first time at bat tonight. And a reminder that tonight on Nightline, the controversial Yankee owner George Steinbrenner talks live with Ted Koppel about how he got that reputation. That's tonight on Nightline, immediately following your local news. The strike to Hume. You see a 167 average. Well, while we showed you that score being tied in Detroit, 3-3. Public enemy number 1 gets him right there. The breaking pitch 0-2. Baltimore continues very quietly to on their winning ways. 6-2 a final over Milwaukee. And that'll do it. Hume is gone. 1-2-3. Cincinnati has gone in the 9th inning. We go to the bottom of the 9th. The Dodgers down by 2. It's Cincinnati 3, the Dodgers 1. As we go to the bottom of the 9th inning, the Dodgers need 2 to tie. They will lead it off with Pedro Guerrero, followed by Franklin Stubbs, and then Mike Marshall. In that Baltimore 6-2 win over Milwaukee, Cal Ripken hit his 12th home run of the year. Eddie Murray hit his 11th. Cecil Cooper his 2nd. Boddicker picked up the win. He's 7-4. Ladd took the loss 2-4 for the Brewers. Now, Tom Hume, not in relief of the starter Frank Pastore, not by his own choosing. As 2 outs in the 8th inning, Steve Sachs hit a line drive back off of the right arm, the pitching arm of Pastore. It appeared to be just above the right elbow. And Vern Rapp was going to take no chances whatsoever with a young right-hander who had pitched a whale of a ball game and allowed the Dodgers a run on 2 hits prior to that base hit by Sachs. Guerrero takes high. Tommy Lasorda trying to pull for something to happen positive as quick as it can. That is to left center field and playable. Milner calling. Out number 1. To Franklin Stubbs.
First baseman, Franklin Stubbs.
Well, we told you that Ted Koppel will be talking with George Steinbrenner on Nightline tonight, and he'll have to be a little happier as the Yankees defeat Boston 8-3. Gidry over Ojeda. Baylor is 10th home run of the year. Jim Rice hit his 8th for the Red Sox. 1 ball and no strikes to count. Vern Rapp, he's got to be a happy man if they can hold what they have after the 5 games drubbing at the hands of the Atlanta Braves. 1 ball and no strike. It's 2-0 to start. Oh, I've said many times, Jim, you hate to see a 5-game series.
Well, you certainly do, especially if the other team's playing better than you are.
Oh, my goodness. You get somebody hot and somebody cold, and many times that can set the stages to winning and losing a division or what have you. Well, Stubbs walks, the Dodgers are alive, and Mike Marshall comes on. Well, the thing that will give a manager gray hair. A 2-run lead in the bottom of the 9th or the 9th inning, whatever it might be, home or away, and you manage to walk a man to bring the tying run to the plate. 1 ball and no strikes, and on deck, Kenny Landreau. Cato, the right-hander. Ochinko, the left-hander. And there goes Stanley, we used to call him. Stan Williams, the Cincinnati pitching coach.
The man could throw hard.
Oh.
I only saw him, of course, when he was with Minnesota, but he had one outstanding season. I think in 1970 when they went to the playoffs. Plus, he was mean. You never dug in against Stan Williams.
Never. And you think he doesn't look, he was as mean as what he looked. I'll guarantee you like that. But as jovial a guy as you want to be around. One ball and no strike. With it low, the count 2-0.
The one thing that changes a 2-run lead in the complexion of a ball game is the minute you get a runner on, you have to play the lines. Therefore, it's a lot easier to get those singles between third, short, and first and second.
And he takes the count to 3-0. Well, it opens that infield up, as you can see. Greason playing behind the runner at first. And you've got Concepcion guarding the line at third. You don't want anything hit down the line. There's a strike, and the count 3-1. Now comes the discipline of the hitter, Jim.
Well, exactly. If I'm Mike Marshall, I'm saying I'm looking for a pitch out over the plate that I can drive. Hopefully it'll get out of here.
And he came with a 3-1 breaking pitch.
Well, it looks like Tom Hume's slider. Again, it's a gutty pitch. It's a great pitch if you throw a good one, and he did.
He walks him. So he came with a 3-1 slider, got it over, came back with a 3-2 sinker, and walks him. And now the Dodgers have the tying runs aboard, and Kenny Landreau at the plate. Your outfield, as they walk around nervously, are playing extra deep. You don't want a ball hit over your head now to go for extra bases. If it's going to hit over your head, it's going out of the ballpark. Landreau has doubled in the only run his last time at bat in the 7th. High, 1-0. And time call. There's the catcher. Bellardello is going to go to the mound, and that's going to be all. Here comes Vern Rapp.
Well, we talked earlier about Ted Power, the #1 reliever, right-handed reliever for Cincinnati, being used extensively in that 5-game series they had with Atlanta. And you kind of pay the price.
Well, they're going to go to Bob Ochinko. And indeed you do. When your bullpen gets short and your arms get scarce, well, I'll tell you, you'll try anything just to try and find some kind of a solution to divide the time for a couple of 3 days to get them all back in the groove again.
Well, yesterday, of course, Joe Price had a one-hitter going into the 8th inning. Bruce Floreni pitched 6 2/3 innings, a good game. So even though they lost, their starting pitching at least was strong enough not to make Rapp go to the bullpen that early.
Well, Rapp waiting for Ochinko to come on. You saw the numbers on Ochinko. All the Cincinnati infielders are thinking about now is, give me a ground ball at me. We'll try and get a double play and get out of here. Ochinko, as he makes his way to the mound, a record of 2-2, making his 15th appearance of the year, and a 3.25 ERA, does not have a save as yet. He has worked in 36 innings, allowed 37 hits, 16 runs, 13 of those earned. He's given up 4 home runs. He has walked 15 while striking out 20. And he will have to face another hitter as far as the Dodgers are concerned. Morales is going to come on.
Batting for Landro, number 43, Jose Morales.
Jose, talk to him. He's not exactly stinging the ball. 3 for 18 this year. Of course, he is third in the all-time list of pinch hitters, Major League history, as far as the amount of pinch hits that one's gotten.
Morales, just to go along with those thoughts, Jim, hitting 167. He's had 3 hits and 18 at-bats, and you would assume that most of those were in a pinch hit situation without a home run or an RBI.
But he is a tough pinch hitter. On the other hand, of course, if Ochinko can get him to hit a ground ball, Jose is not the fleetest of runners.
And a good double play man. Now Bob Ochinko will get his 8 warm-up tosses, and we'll go right back to the action. Cincinnati, 3 runs on 8 hits and an error. The Dodgers, 2 runs, 3 hits, and no errors. Cincinnati scored a run in the first inning. They picked up 2 in the 8th. The Dodgers' lone tally coming in the 7th inning, as Morales comes on.
And yesterday, he pinch hit in the 8th inning against Houston. Nepper threw him a low breaking ball. He hit it to short on the first pitch. I said, gee, you didn't even get a chance to see what he was throwing. He says, I'm an aggressive hitter. I go up there. If I get a pitch that I think I can hit, I'm going to swing. So it'll be interesting to see if he takes a pitch tonight.
And on the other hand, how many times you have managers tell you, well, you get a guy in the late innings coming off the bench, go with your hard stuff right at him right away. And that pitch is inside.
The funny thing about pitching in late innings and close ball games, the plate, if you're a pitcher, always seems to get a little bit smaller.
That is ball 2. If you recall, Hume went ball 1 to Landro. It's now ball 2 to Morales. Out of play. Oh. 2-1. And on deck is Mike Scioscia. Boy, that can certainly happen. See, ranks 3rd in baseball history with those pinch hits. He's done a job.
Got me a few wins when he was with us in Baltimore a couple of years. Calls everybody Chico because he can't remember their names. He's been with so many teams.
And the count goes even at 2-2. Minnesota defeated Texas 6-2. American League final. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out, 2 on. It's 3-1 Cincinnati. We're in the bottom half of the 9th inning. 29,834 at Dodger Stadium. Foul right side. And for the Dodgers, that is their lowest crowd of the year. They have been averaging 42,957. You look at Vern Rapp.
About 6,000 more when Fernando pitches. So this is an exceptionally small crowd.
He will.
There's a lot of cities would love to draw 29,000.
Isn't that true?
On a Monday night. Ochinko's going right after him with fastballs.
Little looper, and there is the center fielder Milner, and the runners will have to hold. So that is time to go to the bench one more time. Marshall at first, and you have Franklin Stubbs at second. A reminder, our executive producer for ABC Sports is Roone Arledge. Coverage of tonight's game was produced by Peter Lasser, directed by Ken Faust, technical director Mike Blazo. Associate Director Jimmy Roberts, Technical Manager Tony Versley, and Unit Manager Arturo Gonzalez. Assistants to the producer, Amy Smolin. Researcher Jerry Klein, and our statistician Peter Hurt. And we thank you all. And of course, this ABC Sports exclusive has been brought to you by Chevrolet, with the performance, the style, the innovation, the quality, and the value that make up today's Chevrolet. By Budweiser, proud sponsor of the U.S. Olympic team. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's cooked the Colonel's special way. Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right. Steve Yeager comes on, and he's going to hit for Mike Scioscia. Well, there's 2 outs. The tying runs aboard. We're in the bottom of the 9th inning with Cincinnati on top 3-1. That is Stubbs at second and Marshall at first. Yeager making his first appearance of the evening. Steve hitting .241. That's fouled right side and out of play. He's got to crank it up a little bit more.
Well, it sure does. And Ochinko, when he came over to the American League, had a little bit of problems as a starter because he couldn't get his breaking ball over. Tonight, as a short reliever, he's just coming at him with their fastball. He got a fastball in on Morales, popped him up to center, went right after Yeager on the first pitch. And Yeager's a pretty good low fastball hitter.
He sure is.
Likes to get those arms extended. Strong guy.
And the breaking pitch outside. Tried to backdoor him and missed. And the count 1-1.
Almost looked like he crossed up Phil Ardello. Looks like he's looking for a fastball and just doesn't expect the ball to break. Almost went by him for a pass ball or a wild pitch to advance the runners.
Wouldn't that make you squirm if you're Vern Rapp? 1 ball and 1 strike. On that outside corner, good pitch by Ochinko. Well, there's what you've got to say. If you're going to be tied, you're going to be beat, you've got to stay down in there, Jimmy, and say, here, hit my bet. If you do it, pal, I take my hat off to you.
Well, if he throws another one in the outside corner, it's going to be tough to hit.
Out of play. He didn't get it outside enough, and Yeager had a good rip at it. You could see Phil Ardello kind of go inside, pound that glove into the ear of Yeager, thinking he's coming inside, and then scoop to that outside. Reminds you of the shades of former Dodger catcher Johnny Roseboro.
The guy that I'm amazed that does it so well is Carlton Fisk. For a big guy, he really moves behind the plate. Gives you that good target.
1-2 pitch. Got him swinging, and that'll do it. So Yeager strikes out. The Dodgers are gone in the 9th. No runs, no hits, no errors, and they leave the tying runs aboard. So the final score in our premiere right here on ABC's Monday Night Baseball, it is Cincinnati 3 and the Los Angeles Dodgers 1. And we'll be back after this message and a word from our local station. Well, that's the story from Dodger Stadium. I'm Don Drysdale along with Jim Palmer. And Jimmy, great working with you. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay, enjoyed being here.
Okay, and of course, stay tuned for ABC News Nightline immediately following your late local news. Travel arrangements made through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. ABC's Monday Night Baseball has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as a leader in sports television. This year, the Olympic tradition continues.